Ever since selecting the top 10 worst villains, we've considered voting for the best. Our initial suggestions seemed split, as some bad guys choose to be bad, and others have backstories that are more complicated and morally balanced than they initially appear. These 10 fall into that first category. They exercise their destructive desires without remorse. They're not waiting for a second chance or some impossible redemption. They're no good, no nonsense, calculating, selfish, heartless, straight-up villains. Villainy doesn't get much more straightforward than a creature that spends millennia munching on the inside of a planet only to erupt from its crust and rain fire down on everyone that lives there. Every era of Chrono Trigger's history is influenced by Lavos, and several disasters took place before the final apocalypse. It's even said that Lavos guided all human advancement, solely for the sake of eventual harvest. Lavos may look like a simple parasite on the outside, but at its core lies a humanoid form, providing a diabolical intelligence behind its actions, not just raw instinct. It's hard to think of something more villainous than repeated kidnappings, and the psychopathic Bowser continues his advance on Princess Peach, even though she clearly wants nothing to do with him. He even looks the part with his spiked metal bands, flaming fire breath, and menacing physique. Bowser also wants to murder Mario and enslave the Mushroom Kingdom. Despite repeatedly failing at world domination, he refuses to give up or compromise. It's his dedication and imposing appearance that earn him a spot on this list. But his margin of success isn't great, so we dropped him in at number 9. Once respected as the most powerful member of the elite military division soldier, Sephiroth takes a dark turn into destruction and madness upon discovering the truth of his origins. He burns down the village of Nibelheim and kills several of its townsfolk. He assaults the Shinra headquarters, leaving a pile of bodies and a sword in the corpse of the company president. He shatters Cloud's mind through lies and manipulation. He summons Meteor to collide into the planet and kills one of the most beloved characters in the series. He got a raw deal by being secretly implanted with the cells of an alien life form, but Sephiroth didn't have to then merge with the life stream or become a god. He was born to be a villain. The sadistic sociopath Albert Wesker is hell-bent on controlling the entire human race. The high-ranking member of Umbrella Corporation and former leader of STAR's Alpha Team has never once shown an ounce of compassion for anything but his plans for power. It's common for him to manipulate others into doing his bidding, and he enjoys making other people suffer. Throughout decades of Resident Evil canon, he has lied, betrayed, backstabbed, murdered, tortured, mind-controlled, used drugs, and plotted the genocide of billions of human beings. He may not make the smartest decisions sometimes, but that's quite a resume. Nearly every antagonist throughout the Metal Gear franchise has some grand motive. They believe their actions, however twisted, will bring about a better future. Not so with Psycho Mantis. Having read the pasts, presents, and futures of thousands throughout his lifetime, Mantis is disgusted with humanity. He believes humans are only fated to bring each other misery, that we're designed for pain. He joined Foxhound to cause as much suffering as possible, to rid the world of human filth. Considering how convoluted most other Metal Gear villains are, the stark simplicity of Mantis makes him feel especially vile. Not to mention, he takes over Meryl in Metal Gear Solid, turning her into a sexualized puppet to torment Snake. The main antagonist of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, XEHANORT, is a master manipulator and a powerful foe with many forms. As a young Keyblade master, XEHANORT thought there was an imbalance between dark and light, and sought to spread darkness through other worlds. To recreate the mythical Keyblade and start the Second Keyblade War, he took the darkness from the warrior Ventus and left him to die as a hollow shell. He poisoned the mind of Terra and took his body as a vessel. He created the Heartless, Ansem, and Xemnas, and killed fellow Keyblade Master Ericus. He's responsible for almost everything bad in Kingdom Hearts, and hopefully Kingdom Hearts 3 will be all about making him pay. The people of Azeroth would prefer to blame Arthas for the incidents in Warcraft 3 and the second WoW expansion, but it really was the will of the Lich King. Ever since Arthas pulled Frostmourne from its resting place, the prince has acted as the king's puppet, helping spread the scourge beyond the snowy heights of Northrend. Although striking down Arthas was one of the most satisfying quests we've completed in World of Warcraft, the Lich King itself, once the Orc Shaman Ner'zhul, still rests on its frozen throne, taking another poor victim as its shell. This immortality has helped the Lich King cross franchises and remain one of the most imposing threats we've ever faced in a role-playing or real-time strategy game. Liquid Snake has the ultimate inferiority complex. He thinks he received all of Big Boss's recessive genes, while Solid Snake got the dominant ones, making Liquid the inferior clone. His identity crisis drives him to defy his fate, wanting to best his brother and prove superiority. To do this, he launches an insurrection against the US government, threatening a nuclear strike. He also murders Kazuhira Miller, Grey Fox, and uses Meryl as a pawn against Snake. Liquid is like an angsty, envious, and spiteful sibling taken to a psychotic extreme. The kicker is, he's the superior clone after all. All of his fantasies of revenge are built on a complete fallacy. Some of the most destructive Final Fantasy villains actually have good intentions or valid excuses for their attitudes, or they may not have all the facts straight. A great deal of Final Fantasy VI is spent watching Kefka be an absolute monster, whether it's poisoning an entire castle to win a battle he was probably going to win anyway, murdering dozens of magical beings by devouring their essence, and ripping out pieces of the planet to create his own penthouse apartment of steel and rock before turning the world to ruin. Even though they tease his relevance on occasion, there's never a doubt who is the greatest villain in the game, and the entire Final Fantasy series. If you can measure the monstrosity of a man by his monikers, the Dark Lord, Great King of Evil, and Prince of Darkness Ganondorf is monstrous in both name and persona. A ruthless, cunning, and relentless thief, Ganon moves between worlds and forms in pursuit of the Triforce and the unmatched power it holds. The Legend of Zelda series has dabbled in different baddies, but when it comes to the baddest of them all, the games consistently return to Link's fiery-haired foe. We can't blame Nintendo. There's so much about the Gerudo Prince that inspires fear in our heart pieces, from his intimidating stature, to his ability to transform into a terrifying demon pig, to the fact that he was raised by a tribe of badass warrior women in the desert. Bottom line, the image of Ganondorf rearing up on his horse at the beginning of Ocarina of Time will remain burned in our memories forever. In anticipation of the launch of Metal Gear Solid 5, Michael Huber attempts to explain the entire Metal Gear saga in 12 minutes, win or lose. And Guitar Hero Live stopped by our stage for a jam session on GT Live to sample a few songs and demo the recently announced singing mode. We'll see you next week for another GT Countdown.